A journey across borders for family, a story of sacrifice, friendship, family, and hope. This story is a dedicated to every person who leaves home with a suitcase full of dreams, works through loneliness and uncertainty, and keeps going because someone back home is counting on them. Chapter 1: Two Men, Two Dreams. Dennis had always believed that some friendships arrive quietly and then become part of your life forever. He met Simba in a busy barbershop, where the sound of clippers, laughter, and music filled the air. Simba was a barber from Tanzania, a hardworking man with a gentle smile and tired eyes. Their first conversation began with a simple joke about Dennis's haircut. Simba laughed, shook his head, and said, "My brother, hair can grow again, but a bad haircut can destroy a man's confidence for at least 2 weeks." Dennis laughed. That was the beginning. As days passed, Dennis learned that Simba was more than a talented barber. He was a father, a son, a brother, and a man carrying the hopes of an entire family on his shoulders. He had left Tanzania for South Africa because he wanted better living conditions and more opportunities to support the people waiting for him back home. Simba did not dream of luxury. He dreamed of school fees paid on time, food on the table, a stronger home, and a future where his family would not have to struggle for every basic need. Dennis respected that dream. He knew that leaving home was never easy. Chapter 2: The Suitcase in Tanzania. Before Simba came to South Africa, he stood in his family home in Tanzania with one old suitcase beside him. His mother watched him fold his clothes. His younger siblings sat quietly, pretending not to be afraid. Simba tried to smile. "I will come back," he promised. His mother nodded, but her eyes were full of tears. She knew that the journey would change him. She also knew why he had to go. There had been months when money was never enough. Bills waited, food prices rose, his younger relatives needed school supplies, his family needed repairs to the house. Simba had worked hard as a barber, but he believed South Africa could give him a better chance. Before leaving, he hugged his mother for a long time. "Don't worry about me," he said. "I am going to work." His mother placed a small prayer card in his hand. "Work hard," she told him, "but never lose your heart." Those words followed him across the border. Chapter 3: The Road South. The journey to South Africa was long, uncomfortable, and filled with uncertainty. Simba watched towns and landscapes pass by through a window, wondering what waited for him. He carried little money, a few clothes, his barber tools, and a heart full of responsibility. At every stop he thought about home. He wondered whether his family had eaten. He wondered whether his mother was sleeping. He wondered whether his younger relatives were attending school. When he finally reached South Africa, the excitement lasted only a few minutes. The city was huge. People moved quickly. Everything seemed expensive. He knew almost nobody. That first night, Simba slept in a small room shared with other workers. He stared at the ceiling. "Tomorrow," he whispered, "I start again." Was frightened, but he refused to turn back. Chapter 4: The First Clipper. Simba found work in a barbershop after several difficult weeks. The pay was not what he had imagined, but it was honest work. Every morning he arrived early. He cleaned mirrors, swept hair from the floor, prepared the chairs, checked his clippers. Then he waited. Some days were busy. Other days were painfully quiet. When customers came, Simba treated every haircut like it mattered. He believed a barber was not simply cutting hair. A barber was helping someone walk out feeling better than when they entered. Word slowly spread. To Simba, customers began saying, "That man can cut." With each haircut, Simba sent a little money home. His family celebrated every transfer, even when it was small. For Simba, a small amount meant something enormous, proof that the sacrifice was beginning to produce a result. Chapter 5: Dennis walks in one evening. Dennis entered the barbershop just before closing. "Are you still working?" he asked. Simba looked at the clock. "For you, my brother, yes." Dennis sat in the chair. Simba worked. They talked about life, music, family, and the difficulties of surviving far from home. Dennis discovered that Simba was from Tanzania. "Tanzania?" Dennis asked. "You came all the way here just to work?" Simba smiled. "Just to work, to build something." Dennis looked at him through the mirror. "What are you building?" "My family's tomorrow." Answer stayed with Dennis. That night after Simba finished the haircut, the two men exchanged numbers. Neither knew it yet, but a friendship had just begun. Chapter 6: Messages from home. Simba's phone became his connection to Tanzania. Every evening he checked for messages from home. Sometimes his mother wrote, "We are fine." She wrote, "Your little brother needs school shoes." Sometimes there was no message at all. Those were the nights Simba worried the most. One Saturday he received a call from his younger sister. "Brother, when are you coming home?" Simba looked around the small room. "I don't know yet. We miss you." He closed his eyes. "I miss you too." The call. He sat silently for several minutes. Dennis happened to call him. "You okay?" Simba hesitated. "Home is calling." Dennis understood. "Then don't forget why you're there." Simba breathed deeply. "Family." "Exactly," Dennis replied. The conversation gave him strength. Chapter 7: When friendship becomes family. Dennis began visiting the barbershop regularly. They joked, argued about football, shared meals, and encouraged each other. They were different men from different backgrounds, but they understood the same language: struggle. Dennis noticed when Simba was tired. Simba noticed when Dennis was quiet. One evening, Dennis asked, "Why don't you ever complain?" Simba laughed. "I complain. I just complain inside my head." They both burst out laughing. Their friendship became a safe place. When Simba felt homesick, Dennis listened. When Dennis faced a difficult day, Simba encouraged him. They discovered that sometimes friendship is not about solving someone's problems. Sometimes it is simply about refusing to let someone face them alone. Chapter 8. The bad month. Then came the month when everything seemed to go wrong. The barbershop became quiet. Customers spent less money. Simba's income dropped. At the same time, his family needed help. His mother called. "The roof is leaking," she said. Simba looked at the money in his account. It was not enough. He sat outside the barbershop after closing. Dennis found him there. "What happened?" Simba showed him the message. "I don't know what to do." Dennis sat beside him. "You'll figure it out." By step, shook his head. "Step by step feels too slow." Dennis smiled. "Slow is still movement." Those words became another piece of Simba's strength. Chapter 9. Working until midnight. Simba decided to work longer hours. He accepted late customers. He cut hair on weekends. He offered simple grooming services. He saved every possible coin. Some nights he left the shop after midnight. His feet hurt. His back hurt. His eyes burned, but he kept going. Dennis worried about him. "You need rest." Simba laughed. "Rest is waiting for me in Tanzania." Deep inside, Simba knew Dennis was right. A dream can become dangerous when a person forgets that the body carrying the dream also needs care. One night, Dennis convinced Simba to stop working and eat. They sat together outside a small takeaway. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Simba said, "One day I want my family to see me succeed." Dennis answered, "They already see you as a success. You left everything familiar to fight for them." Looked down, that meant more than Dennis realized. Chapter 10. The letter. Months later, Simba received a handwritten letter from his mother. She thanked him for everything he had done. She told him that the roof had been repaired. His younger relatives had returned to school. There was food in the house. Then came one sentence that made Simba cry. "My son, don't think only about what you can send us. We want you to be well too." Read the sentence again. For years, he had measured his worth by what he could provide. Now his mother was reminding him that he was a person before he was a provider. He showed Dennis the letter. Dennis read it quietly. "She loves you," Dennis said. "I know. She wants you alive and happy." Nodded. For the first time, he understood that success was not only about money. It was also about coming home with a heart that had survived the journey. Chapter 11. A barber with a bigger dream. Simba began thinking beyond surviving. He wanted his own barbershop one day, not a huge business. Just a clean, respected place where young people could learn a skill and an honest living. He started saving. Every week he put a little money aside. Dennis helped him think through the idea. "Your business can have a name connected to Tanzania," Dennis suggested. Simba smiled. "Maybe something that reminds me where I came from." They wrote ideas on scraps of paper. They laughed at the terrible ones. Eventually Simba chose a simple name. Simba's Corner. "It sounds strong," Dennis said. "It sounds like home," Simba replied. The dream had changed. Simba was no longer only trying to escape hardship. He was trying to build a future. Chapter 12. The day everything almost collapsed. One afternoon, Simba received terrible news. A close relative back home had become seriously ill. He felt helpless. He wanted to board the next bus or plane and go home immediately, but there was not enough money. He sat in the barbershop, unable to concentrate. Dennis arrived and found him staring at the floor. "Going home," Simba said. Dennis did not argue. "If that's what your heart says, go." Looked at him. "But my family also needs the money I'm earning." Dennis understood the impossible choice. They sat together for a long time. Eventually Simba called home. His family told him not to destroy the future they were building together. "Stay," they told him. "Keep fighting." It was one of the hardest decisions of his life. Simba stayed, but that night he cried. Chapter 13. The storm between friends. Pressure eventually created tension between Dennis and Simba. One evening, Dennis questioned Simba's decision to work so much. "You're destroying yourself." Became angry. "You don't understand what I carry." Dennis replied, "I understand more than you think." "You have no idea." The argument grew louder. For the first time, the two friends walked away from each other angry. Days passed. The barbershop felt strangely empty. Dennis missed Simba. Simba missed Dennis. Pride kept them apart. Finally, Dennis returned to the shop. "I was wrong about one thing," he said. Simba looked up. "What?" "I cannot fully understand your burden, but I can stand beside you while you carry it." Simba's eyes filled with tears. "I was wrong too." They shook hands, then they hugged. Their friendship survived because forgiveness was stronger than pride. Chapter 14. The barbershop dream takes shape. With Dennis encouraging him, Simba became more disciplined. He separated money for his family, money for emergencies, and money for his future business. He learned about customers, supplies, pricing, and saving. He began training a younger barber at the shop. "Him everything," Dennis told him. Simba smiled. A barber should never be afraid to create another barber. His confidence grew. He realized that his journey could help others too. The man who had once arrived in South Africa with one suitcase was now teaching someone else how to build a career. That was when Simba understood that progress is sometimes invisible until you look backward. Chapter 15. A call from Tanzania. One Sunday morning, Simba received a video call. His family gathered around the phone. His mother smiled. "Look at us." Camera moved around the room. The repaired roof stood above them. The younger children were dressed for school. There was food on the table. Simba stared at the screen. "This is what I wanted," he whispered. His mother answered, "No, my son." This is what we wanted together. Dennis watched from nearby. He saw Simba's face change. For years, Simba had carried guilt for being away. Now he could finally see the fruit of his sacrifice, not perfection, not wealth, but progress, and sometimes progress is enough to keep a person going. Chapter 16. The man behind the barber customers often saw Simba as the cheerful barber who made jokes while cutting hair. They did not see the lonely nights. They did not see the messages from Tanzania. They did not see the calculations he made before sending money home. They did not see how often he missed birthdays, family meals, and ordinary moments. Dennis did. That was why their friendship mattered. One evening, Dennis told him, "You know, Simba, you're more than the man who sends money home." Smiled. "Then who am I?" "You're a man who refused to give up." Became quiet. He realized that his story was not only about leaving Tanzania. It was about becoming someone stronger without forgetting where he came from. Chapter 17. A new beginning. After years of saving and planning, Simba finally reached a major milestone. He had enough money to begin preparing for his own small barbershop. He found a modest space. It needed work, the walls needed painting. The chairs needed repair. The mirrors needed cleaning. But Simba looked at the empty room and saw something different. He saw possibility. Dennis stood beside him. "This is Simba's corner." Simba laughed. "Not yet." "Why not?" "Because you haven't helped me clean it." Dennis groaned. They both laughed. Together they began. The shop was not perfect, but it was theirs, and every nail, mirror, and chair represented years of sacrifice. Chapter 18. The return home. Eventually Simba returned to Tanzania for a visit. The moment he stepped into his family home, his mother hugged him. He held her tightly. For a while neither spoke. He had imagined this moment many times in South Africa. Reality was better. His family gathered around him. The younger ones had grown taller. The house was stronger. Life was still not easy, but there was hope everywhere. Simba realized something important. He had left Tanzania searching for a better life, but he had never really left Tanzania behind. He carried it in his language, his memories, his food, his family, and his dreams. When it was time to return to South Africa, leaving hurt again. But this time he was not leaving as a desperate young man. He was leaving as a builder. Chapter 19. Brothers across borders. Dennis and Simba remained close. Their friendship had survived distance, stress, arguments, and difficult seasons. Whenever Simba felt discouraged, Dennis reminded him of the man who had arrived with one suitcase. Whenever Dennis doubted himself, Simba reminded him that every great journey begins with one step. They often talked about the future. Maybe one day they would build something together. Maybe they would help young people find work. Maybe Simba's barbershop would grow. Maybe his family would have even better opportunities. They did not know exactly what tomorrow would bring, but they had learned not to fear tomorrow. They had learned to prepare for it. Chapter 20. The life they were building. Years later, Simba stood inside his own barbershop. The mirrors were clean. The clippers were ready. Music played softly in the background. A young customer sat in the chair. Simba smiled. "Ready?" The customer nodded. Outside, the city continued moving. Inside, Simba remembered Tanzania. He remembered the old suitcase, his mother's tears. The long journey, the lonely room, the first haircut, Dennis walking through the door, the arguments, the forgiveness, the nights of exhaustion, the phone calls, the small transfers home, the dream. He understood now that a better life was not a destination. It was something a person built every day. Dennis walked into the shop. Still working, Simba laughed. "Always." Dennis looked around. "You did it." Simba shook his head. "We did it." The two friends smiled. Simba's journey had begun with one man's desire to help his family survive. It had grown into a story about courage, friendship, sacrifice, and hope. He had crossed borders, but he had never abandoned his roots. He had searched for a better life, but along the way he discovered something even greater. A better life is not only about how far you travel. It is about how many people are stronger because you refuse to give up. And somewhere in Tanzania, his family looked toward the future with hope. Because Simba had kept his promise, he had gone away to build a better tomorrow, and little by little, that tomorrow had